You are the only reason a spaceship the size of a city can cross the galaxy. You are also a mutant, and everyone on board is a little afraid you might kill them just by looking at them. Congratulations, you were born a navigator. Your family is unimaginably rich, unimaginably old, and unimaginably strange. And your job will probably end with your ship vanishing forever into a dimension made of nightmares. This is your life as a navigator in Warhammer 40,000. From the day they check your forehead to the day you don't come back. You don't get born into a navigator house the way normal people get born. You get inspected. Navigators are one bloodline of humanity that carries a very specific mutation, passed down carefully for tens of thousands of years. It goes back before the Imperium of man even existed, back to the earliest days when humans first dared to cross between the stars. During the long nightmare known as the Age of Strife, when the warp went wild and cut every human world off from every other, your ancestors were among the only people alive who could still sail the dark between suns. That is not an exaggeration. Whole civilizations lived or died on whether they had one of your kind aboard. So within hours of your birth, before you can even cry properly, the family checks your forehead. They are looking for exactly one thing, a third eye. If you have it, you are an asset worth more than a planet. If you don't, you are a disappointment with an expensive surname. There is no middle ground, and there is no appeal. You belong to a Navigator House, an old aristocratic family that rents out its own children as living lighthouses. Some stories name great houses like Belisarius, dynasties so powerful they bargain with the Imperium as near equals. Your house has more money than most star systems, and it treats you as inventory. Imperial records would call you a precious resource. Your relatives would call you leverage. Same thing, different smile. So what is the third eye actually for? It sees a color that isn't there. Faster than light travel in this galaxy means diving into the warp, a parallel dimension of raw emotion and hungry things. It is a shortcut, and it wants to eat you. Every fear, every nightmare, every scrap of human misery ever felt pools together in there and takes on a life of its own. Picture trying to sail an ocean during a hurricane, at night, blindfolded, while the water itself hates you personally. Now imagine you are the only crew member allowed to take the blindfold off. Because in the middle of all that chaos, there is one fixed light. It is a psychic beacon shining from the Corpse Emperor's throne on Holy Terra, and keeping it lit costs the lives of roughly 1,000 human psychers, burned away every single day. Your third eye is the only kind of eye that can find that light through the storm. It is the single most valuable trait a human being can be born with, and it will define every waking moment you have left. But that same eye is a loaded weapon. Uncovered, it can kill an ordinary person just by meeting their gaze, stopping a heart, or unraveling a mind in a single instant. So you spend your entire life wearing a bandana over your own forehead, like the galaxy's most dangerous fashion statement. And there is a bonus feature nobody puts in the recruitment brochure. The gene does not stay still. The longer you live, and navigators can live for many centuries, the less human you look. The oldest ones are barely people anymore, hunched and swollen and strange. So the reward for a long, successful career is slowly becoming a monster in a very nice robe. You will not have a childhood. You will have a curriculum. First, they teach you to open the third eye just a crack, then close it again, over and over, until you can glance into the warp without it looking too far back into you. Half of your training is navigation, learning to read a sea that has no map and no shoreline. The other half is simply not going insane, because the warp is very, very good at giving people ideas. It offers bargains. It shows you faces you loved. It lies to you in your own voice. Think about that for a second. A child, drilled every single day to stare into a dimension that swallows grown adults whole, and then reminded at dinner that failure would be a family embarrassment. You are also taught, carefully and constantly, that you are superior to baseline humans, which is convenient, because those same baseline humans have been taught to be terrified of you. Everybody wins, except you, emotionally. And plenty of young navigators never make it out of training at all. The eye opens wrong. The mind cracks under the strain. The gene turns on its owner. Nobody talks about those cousins at dinner. Their portraits simply come down off the wall one quiet morning. And then one day the family decides you are ready, which in this family means expendable enough to try. Your first jump. A void ship translates out of real space, and suddenly you are the only living thing on board who can see where it is going. They seal you into a chamber at the very top of the ship, alone. because you are too valuable to lose and far too dangerous to sit next to. Then you open the eye fully for the first time. The galaxy is gone. In its place is a screaming ocean of color, things with far too many mouths, and one steady light burning in the impossible distance. You steer toward the light, get it wrong, and the ship does not crash in any normal sense. It simply never arrives anywhere, ever again. Between the crew and the horrors outside, there is a single thin bubble called the Gellar-field. If it flickers, demons come inside for dinner, and you are the one watching, wide awake, the entire time it flickers. Old spacer stories are full of ships that vanished for a single afternoon and reappeared with a crew that had aged 40 years, or worse, a crew that was gone entirely, the corridors scrubbed clean and the airlocks sealed from the inside. Warp travel does not respect clocks either. A week-long trip can take a day, or a decade, or, occasionally, deliver you home before you actually left. Try explaining that one to payroll. If you make it through, you translate back into real space, exhausted, aged in some strange way you cannot quite name, and everyone thanks you by keeping their distance. And that, believe it or not, is the good outcome. Here is the part they don't tell the tour groups. Surviving the warp is not your biggest problem. Your family is. Every house knows the Imperium cannot move a single fleet without navigators. That gives your relatives outrageous, galaxy-spanning power. They marry for bloodline purity. They hoard contracts like dragons hoard gold. And they scheme against one another as though it were a competitive sport. At the top of each house sits a Paternova, the single most powerful navigator alive in that entire family. He is not just a boss. He gives off a kind of psychic signal, a nexus, that keeps the whole family's genes stable and quietly binds every navigator back to him. And when the Paternova finally dies, the family's gene begins to wobble, and the chosen heirs race home to compete for the throne. The strongest of them transforms into the new Paternova. The losers can simply die from the attempt. It is the worst promotion process in the galaxy, and if your blood runs strong enough, you might be on the short list whether you like it or not. Between jumps, you are a chess piece. Married off, sent on prestige missions, or spent like currency in a feud you did not start and cannot end. Imagine finding out your own grandmother traded you to a rival house to settle a debt older than you are. In these families, that is just called Tuesday. Officially, the houses signed an ancient pact to serve the Imperium loyally. In practice, they serve themselves and let the Imperium keep believing otherwise. So what does the job actually look like, day to day? Mostly waiting, followed by a few hours of completely unbearable responsibility. You might steer a warship for the Imperial Navy, a bulk trade hauler for a Chartist captain, or an entire private empire for a rogue trader. The pay is spectacular. The company is not. You eat alone. You sleep near your sanctum. The crew salutes you crisply and then finds somewhere very else to be because you are the mutant with the killing eye who happens to keep every one of them alive. Gratitude has limits. Rogue traders in particular will treat you like a prized racehorse, showering you with luxury one week and dangling you over an unexplored system the next, because your eye is the only thing standing between their fortune and the void. Every jump, the survival of the entire ship becomes one person's headache, yours. Miss the beacon in a warp storm, and thousands of people become a ghost story other crews whisper about. And the eye is always a little bit open. The warp whispers to it constantly. Navigators who listen too long can be twisted into something the Imperium would very much like to shoot on sight. So even boredom, out here, is genuinely dangerous. And out past the reach of the beacon, near the raged edges of the map, even you are flying half-blind. There are whole corners of this galaxy where the guiding light does not reach at all. So, realistically, how does this go for you? A meaningful share of navigators never survive childhood training in the first place. Of the ones who do, a chunk are simply lost in the warp. Ships that translate out one day and are never heard from again. No wreck, no bodies, no distress call. Just a name, quietly crossed off a manifest. Some are picked off by warp corruption and disposed of by their own kind before they turn. Some die in a house feud that had absolutely nothing to do with them. A few draw the short straw in a Paternova succession and never come home. And here is the cruel joke sitting at the center of all of it. If you somehow survive every single one of those exits, your reward is centuries of life spent slowly mutating into something your own family will not sit next to, still doing the job, jump after jump, until one day, you don't come back. There is no clean number for any of this. The Imperium does not publish survival statistics for its living lighthouses. But every single path on this map seems to end at the same 3 doorways: lost, corrupted, or old and monstrous. Best case, you become an immortal aristocrat that everyone quietly fears. Worst case, and it is a distressingly common case, you become a footnote in a lost ship's final log. Either way, you were never really free. You started as a forehead the family got lucky with. You will end as a light that went out somewhere no one can follow. Remember, you never chose any of this. A stranger looked at your forehead when you were a few hours old and decided the entire shape of your life. In the grim darkness of the far future, being essential does not make you safe. It just makes you harder to replace, which means they will work you until the warp finally keeps you for good. And honestly, if you think you would last longer as a navigator than as an ordinary worker choking away in the depths of a hive city, well, that is a shockingly low bar. And it just so happens we have a whole video on exactly how badly the hive worker's day goes. Go watch it. Your third eye has earned a rest.